are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
I'm Evan Closky.
Back again, and we are happy for it. And we are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making us your very first listen every day. You can check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays, as well as all the other traditional podcasting platforms. I don't want to waste any more time. Welcome, Evan Closky. It's been a minute since you joined the pod. I know there's a lot with football and hockey and myriad other athletic activities, but it's hard to beat opening day.
You can't beat it. No, it was a fantastic afternoon at the Trop. In italics, sellout crowd of 25,000 plus. Because they're obviously not selling seats in the upper deck. The cool part was sort of the reminiscing that was happening. The almost 25 years to the day, Rays Tigers, right? Started this whole shebang in St. Pete. We get the same matchup, a different result this time. It was good energy. That's the thing that I miss so much. Thinking back to covering this team in the playoffs and what those crowds are like and what opening day is like. You're reminded of the fan base that the Rays have. You're reminded of the excitement around this team when people make it out to St. Pete. And there was a buzz. There was a buzz in the building. And regardless of what people think about the Trop, when that place is full, 25,000 plus, it gets in there. So I don't think opening day better than what the Rays kind of did there, especially with the game finishing in 2 hours and 14 minutes.
That was my favorite part. I mean, yeah, the Rays won, but 2 hours and 14 minutes was absolutely exquisite as a baseball fan. Now, I do want to ask you this, Evan, because you were there, you saw the crowd. What was more impactful to you to watch today? Was it McClanahan's outing? Was it the key hits by Rayleigh or Arozarena? Was it the Margot catch? Like, what really captivated your attention as a part of the crowd?
I mean, the Margot catch was, to me, the standout moment, obviously. That was something where, that game was kind of a breeze for both teams. And we'll get into the nitty-gritty with how the game kind of laid out a little bit. A 4-0 victory. I would argue that the questions, if you have them about the hitting, are still very much there. This was a very fortunate day for the Rays. 6 hits, 2 of them solo homers. They only had 3 runners in scoring position. They were opportunistic, and they went 2 for 3 when in scoring position. So it wasn't like they bashed the ball. They didn't. It was a very hitting day. I mean, they just happened to launch a couple out, which is something they missed last year. They would love to have a little bit more of that. Mix in a walk here or there. Those become 2-run homers. And then, on top of that, they were just opportunistic. And, this could have easily been a 0-run affair from the Rays. But having said that, Margot's catch changed the course of that game because, Poche's in first and second. If Margot doesn't make that, it is a 3-2 game, guy on third. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden things are getting tight. Mm-hmm. So Kevin Cash after the game talked about how that was Manny pre-injury. And for Manny to be one of the 2 players who didn't reach base, as far as, I'm going to eliminate Hal Ramirez from that because he got yanked early and got 2 of his at-bats taken away. But, Manny had a bad day at the plate, hit into a double play, and then he makes a play like that. And it was just complimentary baseball all the way around. Clean, crisp. Watching McClanahan deal, he looked like he was in midseason form. Wander, even though there were no stolen bases in the game, gets on base right away. He tries to steal. It was fouled off, didn't happen, but we had those questions with the quad. So, this is how the team is built. Give up nothing, scratch across 4 and more, and we should win. And that's been my number one key day one, going all the way to October. You score more than 4. If you score 4 or more runs, you're going to be a 95 plus win team. You know, if you do that consistently, that's going to be the difference maker.
We have more to discuss on this, but Ulises, we have to tell the audience about something very important.
When you buy tickets, the worst thing that you can do is be stressed about buying said tickets. Well, that is a thing of the past if you download a Game Time. Okay, you get flash deals and last minute tickets. They're easy to find, and best of all, you get images of the seat views before you buy them. So today you got to snag those tickets without that stress with Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms will always apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. You can download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
All right, Evan, you gave your take on Game 1 in the books for the Rays. Ulises, I'm sure you watched quite a bit of this game while multitasking with your full-time job. Anything to add to what Closky had to say there?
Yeah, I think there was aggressive managing by Cash done today. And like, Evan pointed at it or hinted at it, Harold Ramirez kind of being yanked early in the game. Taylor Walls being pinch ran Yandy Diaz for Taylor Walls at second, who ended up scoring. I think that type of managing shows that Kevin Cash is evolving. He's a little bit more trusting in his decisions. I don't think you would have seen that type of aggressive managing, I don't know, 4 years ago. Like it seems like there's always, learning on the job training for every one of us that happens. But on opening day, to see these quick moves by Cash, it was nice to see. It was nice to see because you get the feeling as a fan that the manager's in the game and that he understood that this was a high leverage position where you have to score. Like the game is right there for the taking, and he did what he needed to do. So I thought that was amazing. It wasn't a Kevin Crash moment. It's like you say, Kevin. It was a Kevin De Niro a moment. I don't know if you agree with that, Evan.
I do. I think that's a very astute point, and I thought the same thing. People are asking on Twitter, is Yandy hurt? And it was like, no, he's just pushing buttons real early, and bringing in Raley. I think that's the beautiful part about this team, even going back to day one at Disney World and asking Peter Bendix just what he sees in his team and if the Rays are maybe one of the more suited teams for all the changes happening in Major League Baseball. And he said yes, because everything's hypothetical. They don't know what's going to happen this season. Everything's a guess, but they're athletic and they're versatile, and they can move people wherever they need to move them. They're rangy. They're great defensively. They're good enough hitting. They got all the arms you need. So that's their one-up on other teams. Like, we can tinker more than you can tinker because we have people who are of equal strength behind all these starters, and we can also insert them into valuable spots. Like having Walls come in for the last 3 innings to be a speedster and a fielding plus, that's big. Walls is a tremendous fielder, and you now limit the amount of times he gets up to hit by putting him in late in games, and you're still extracting a lot of strength from him because these are high leverage innings, and you're turning him into a very productive player, putting him in positions to succeed now. So you have your staples. I don't ever see guys like Wander ever getting pulled. Brandon Lau probably will be in there most of the time unless things just aren't coming around. I imagine Jose Siri, because of his defensive prowess, is always going to be out there in center, especially with no true center fielder behind him right now. But, you got to remember they also had Josh Lowe waiting in the wings on the bench too. So they had, they could have made another tinker in the outfield, if they needed to pinch it for Margot, but you see his defensive thing. So I agree. Again, complimentary. It's the only way I can say it. I walked away from that game just being so pleased with the product they put out there, just across the board. Besides maybe the hitting being a bit fortuitous, I was like, it was all good vibes. I walked out of there being like, it felt different today. It felt different. This team looked and sounded, and it was just everything you'd want as a fan. There was nothing to complain about.
You know what? Because I'm this guy, Evan. If you want to really nitpick, the only bad thing about today's game was that that grounder that was between Yandy and Shane McClanahan, and then Brendan Lau couldn't field it to first, and then they got on base. That's what you could take. The only negative thing about the whole game, and it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, it was a really smooth, positive game for the Rays.
I don't even know what he could have done on that play, to be honest. I watched it back, and I was like, Lau was all the way back. Yandy's charging in. It was a tweener. And, Riley Green's also pretty fast, too. So that just when you tip your cap, and you also blame the trop and the turf for Baltimore chopping it right away. But yeah, it was fun. It was a fun watch and a quick watch.
So Evan, is this team better than last year's team?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'll say this: they need to first off come out hot, right? Like the Rays need to stack some dubs because May is going to be hell.
Yeah, there's no better way to stack dubs than have the day after opening day be an off day. That really does wonders.
Tigers, Nationals, Athletics. We knew this coming in. You have to take care of business right out of the gates and try to give yourself a little bit of a buffer going into a really tough May with your longest road trip coming up that month as well. Do I think that they're better? If we're not comparing opening day to opening day, I think yes, because everyone's healthy right now. Last year was just a massacre with the amount of injuries, and mostly on the offensive side of things, which they can kind of figure things out from an arm perspective, but from a bat perspective, it's a little less creative. And that's not even to mention that they still have guys who are waiting in the wings, right? We know that Curtis Meade is going to come up at some point this year. We know that Kyle Manzardo, if Luke Raley doesn't work out, that Manzardo is going to step up. Like I think he's a guy with a very quick trajectory to the major leagues. But as of now, let's assume that there's no setback for Glasnow. I would assume that this is a better team solely based on continuity and health, because the arms got a little healthier because we knew that Glasnow was going to be out almost all of last year. So not having him inherently makes this team better. But from a bat perspective, I'm still a bit everything you're selling me is still on potential. We're hoping Isaac Paredes can hit 25-plus bombs. We're hoping that Jose Siri cannot strike out 35% of the time. We're hoping that Randy Arozarena can finally take that next step to being an elite player. Not a great player. He's a great player. His numbers were there last year. But is he elite like we make him out to be in the playoffs and the World Baseball Classic? Is Luke Raley a thing? He has 5 spring training home runs. Is that going to carry over? Did Josh Lowe learn from last year and the hype train that we started before opening day 1 year ago? Is that finally in effect now? There's still tons of questions. And again, they were not answered in the home opener. That is for sure. 6 hits, 3 walks. One player had more than 1 hit, and that was Wander Franco. Who had a stellar debut. And if he's healthy, he inherently changes the trajectory of this team as well. They didn't have him. Big difference between Wander and Taylor Walls. So To be determined. But if I had to pick an answer, yes, they are for some other variables.
Are those variables? Do they contain the fact, you talk to these players, you talk to them last year, you talk to them this year, get that face-to-face with them. Is there, I know some people hate the new age, people hate the word intangibles, but, or team chemistry. Can you sense a different kind of mindset from last year to this year in the locker room with the players and what it's coming out in these interviews from year to year?
You know what? There is I can't explain it, but I just, as I said, I was walking out the Trump today. And I was like, this year feels different. And I don't know, I was at practice the day before the home opener, and everyone's joking around, yucking it up, very relaxed, a very quiet confidence about this group. There aren't any egos in that locker room. There truly aren't. They're all down to earth guys. They're humble. A lot of them have been picked up off the scrap heap, guys down and out in their luck in the game. And the Rays are the revival story that they needed. There doesn't seem to be a lot of stress. So things are, it's easy to be happy before any records start, and it's easy to be happy 1-0. You got to face some adversity somewhere. But I asked Kevin Cash if he's ever entered a season with player coach with this much continuity between one year to the next. Mm-hmm. And he said no. He said, if you take what we've had, he said taking the roster that we kind of had in August and September and rolling that over into opening day, the fact that we have all been together for a while, the fact that coaches and the front office knows how to utilize them, we know their personalities, we know what buttons to push. Those are keys to getting off to a fast start, because while other people are inserting personalities, qualities, intangibles that they're trying to figure out from their players, the Rays are going to in the opposite direction of staying put and keeping the train going. And I do believe that, one, it was out of necessity. They didn't really get to land a couple of the people they wanted to in the offseason and then push it. But also, I think they look around. You see the season that Nathaniel Lowe had. You see what Jake Cronenworth did for the Padres. You see some of these guys who leave the Rays, or the Rays give away a little bit too early and then succeed a year or two later. And you have to wonder if they're going back there being like, we are not patient enough. We let these guys mature, grow in our farm system, and then when push comes to shove, it doesn't work for a year and we send them away. Right. Like a Jonathan Aranda type who's back down in AAA, like a guy that's maybe not a top prospect, but has consistently hit in all levels. Are we going to worry about what the prospect rankings, his versatility? Are we going to hone in so much on that? Or are we just going to focus on the fact that this guy has a history of hitting all the time through all levels, and that he's going to finally figure it out at the major league level, and we got to stick with him in some regard? That same thing with Rayleigh, and they didn't have options with him, and they just are like, you know what, we believe in this guy, we got to give him a shot. So I really do like I like this team. I like the intangibles, and I like the quiet confidence of this group. It is a little bit different from last year. And again, I think the fact that the injury train hasn't gotten rolling, I think that has certainly helped.
The tournament is heating up, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel. It is America's #1 sports book. That's because right now, FanDuel is giving new customers a no-sweat first bet for up to $1,000. That's up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. You can wager on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will be cutting down the net. It's all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So don't miss your shot at a no-sweat first bet for up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/locked on to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on, LOCKEDON, to sign up. More with FanDuel. Yeah, Evan, you are just on a roll today. I don't know if it's opening day vibes. I'm just sitting back listening to you. I got the fluoride stare going on, just eating it all up from you. So before we move on to baseball trivia, Name That War, this was sort of a superlative discussion that Ulises and I had earlier this week. Just running through these questions, quick hitters real quickly. Team record prediction for the Rays this year for you.
I'm trying to remember what I said on air. I think I had it 93 wins. I think that was my prediction. It was 93, 94, 95. It was one of those. But I do think they're gonna have a 9 in that win total. I like them, in the disrespect that I think I've seen with some rankings of MLB's starting pitching rank. Like, as long as they're healthy,
yeah, they're
going to win if they're healthy. I don't care what team is out there. Their pitching is stacked. Their starting pitching is stacked. And they still have some arms to dip into if there's another injury or so. So you don't have to get me rolling on Josh Fleming, but we'll see how he goes. Number 5 is looking a little interesting. But, I think we'll wait until the Taj Bradley train gets rolling, and maybe Shane Baz has the Tyler Glasnow story of last year and can come back maybe towards the end of September. We'll see about that. I'm not optimistic on that front, but it's just, I do want to mention that he is part of the club's future as well.
Yeah. And the projection systems, they never really value the Rays accurately or fairly. I don't know if it's just because of the way the Rays operate and do business and utilize the depth on the roster rather than the top end talent, but that's a discussion for another day. So team record out of the way. And Ulises, that's kind of what you had, right? Sort of in that realm of 93, 94, 95.
Yeah, I think I said 93 or 94. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Evan, who will be the Rays team MVP, be it a pitcher or a position player?
MVP, if healthy, is going to be Wander Franco. I can say Shane McClanahan, but in the end, I think between Shane and Springs and Rasmussen and even Eflin, I think you're going to have a bunch of starting pitchers who are going to impress fans this year. But I'm still not 100% optimistic about the hitting, and Wander is that engine. And look no further than opening day, what that guy was able to do and attempted to do, even with stealing a base there. He is the motor for that offense, and as long as he's out there mostly every day, you have a fighting shot to put up a run or two thanks to that guy alone.
Yeah.
Which Rays player will be the most pleasant surprise this season?
Most pleasant surprise. I don't know if this would be categorized as it. I'm thinking Jeffrey Springs. I see a lot of people being like, "Oh, Drew Rasmussen is going to be like top 5 Cy Young." I think Springsy can be that guy, and it's not just because I spoke with him the other day.
Yeah, that's
I genuinely think that with what we saw last year, you have to remember we didn't even get him entering the year as a starter. So he started the year as a bullpen guy. Then they go, "Oh, you know what? There are some injuries. We think we can stretch you out. We think your stuff plays as a starter." And then over time, he kind of is the 5-inning guy. And I think he throws around 140 innings last year. They just give him a contract extension this offseason. They say, "You're going to be a starter. Get ready for it." He's prepared for it. He's hoping to log more innings. And with the pitch mix we've seen, especially in spring training, it's really impressive. So Shane McClanahan's going to get all the headlines, Glasnow too, but Springsy, who didn't have the opportunity to pitch in the playoffs last year, as he would have been that third option if they could have made it there against the Guardians, I think he is really going to elevate his game this year, mostly because we're going to see him more. And we got a little taste of it last year. But over a full sample size now of day one, a guy who can throw, they'll throw him out there 6 and eventually push him to maybe 7 innings. That's a guy who I am all over entering the season. And I've also, by the way, I've heard great things about Brandon Lau in spring training as well, with the health, how he's looked, how the swing has looked. And that's not a pleasant surprise. But for a guy who I think everyone's been down on after the injury stuff last year and him not looking good at all, even to begin last year in general, that's a guy who I think might remind some fans of why we love him, why we fell in love with him a couple of years ago. And maybe he won't hit the home runs we once saw, probably won't. But I think he's going to be an integral part of this lineup. And I think some people might be doubting him, and they might be pleasantly surprised about how much he's going to rebound this year.
And then finally, before we move along, who will fail to meet expectations, the biggest disappointment, if you will, on this team, this roster?
Probably the catcher position overall.
Okay.
I like Mejia and I like Bethancourt. I don't know if that's the answer long term. And I don't, they brought in Bethancourt last year, didn't quite provide the pop they thought they were going to get. They're going to mix and match them. And that's probably my biggest concern as far as if the catcher position is your biggest concern, that's okay. Because as long as you're a good catcher, I'm cool with it, which, both of them are. I think Bethancourt probably has a little bit more pressure to provide hitting when he's in the game versus maybe a Mejia, who's at least more of a traditional catcher. But I think maybe we might leave this season being like, the Rays have to do something at catcher. So that would be my other thing. And maybe I think that's it.
Okay.
Fair enough.
All right, let's roll along. It being a Friday episode, Ulises, you've got baseball trivia for us, and I have named that war for you too. So what you got for baseball trivia, Ulises? I know you've been hyping it up all afternoon.
On the group chat? Yeah, maybe a little bit. I just want to say I love the Springs decision there, Evan, because this rotation is so good that I think every one of us has a different favorite one. I'm a Rasmussen guy. You're a Springs guy, Evan. I think Kevin's a McClanahan guy. So that's how good this rotation is, that you can really have your pick of the litter. It's amazing.
And if Glasnow's healthy, by the way, what he was throwing before the injury, he's going to be unhittable. This guy is going to be sick when he pitches again. So again, if he comes back in early May, and let's assume he's healthy, then no harm, no foul, because his innings were going to be cut at some point anyway throughout the season. So that's the crazy part. We're not, none of us are even mentioning Glasnow.
Yeah. It's insane. Okay. Baseball trivia, folks. You talked about continuity, Evan, and that's exactly what my question is about for both of you. Who are players in the 2023 Rays organization that also wore Rays jerseys in 2019 when they started the streak of consecutive playoff appearances? I used organization, so please be mindful of why I must have used organization there, okay? So, who are players in the 2023 Rays organization that also wore Rays jerseys in 2019 when they started the streak of consecutive playoff appearances? I want Evan to go first, and then you guys can ping pong this 1-and-1 and see if you can get all 9 players.
So what? So if I said like Wander Franco, who was in the system in 2019, does that count? Or he had to put on a Rays uniform in 2019?
Correct.
Okay.
You have to have a Rays uni in 2019, and today you just have to be in the organization.
Got it.
So you
that
could
was a
have
hint.
made your debut in 2019, but now you're in the minor leagues.
That was a big hint. Yeah, you're welcome.
Okay. Or injured.
Okay. Well, Glass now.
That is correct.
Oh, do I just go through all of them? Are we gonna ping pong?
No, let's do ping pong.
Yeah,
So
ping
a little
pong.
bit. Yeah.
Brandon Lau.
That is correct.
Fairbanks.
That is correct.
Yandy Diaz.
Kevin gets it correct. This is good, folks. Guys got the easy ones. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left.
Think about this here. I'm afraid to say his name because I don't know if it's correct.
You guys get 3 strikes together, not individually. 3 strikes together.
I'm gonna say Fleming.
And you would be incorrect.
Yeah,
He made his debut in 2020. Strike 1.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I will go with Francisco Mejia.
That would be incorrect. He was in the Blake Snell trade of December 2020.
That's right. Damn it.
There are 2 strikes.
That's my bad.
Oh man.
I will give you guys a little bit of a hint. Before you guys started guessing names, Kevin said something very important, and I said, yep, that's a hint.
A guy he might have debuted with the Rays in 2019, and he's not on the active roster right now. He's either injured or in the minors. I know who you're talking about. I mean, I really hope you don't get that 3rd strike because I know exactly who.
Well, say it. Because I have a name, but I'm afraid it's going to be
Can we do it? Can we switch off?
Yeah, you can switch off. You get a 1 pass. Okay, there you go.
Okay, I get to take the free throw here.
Yeah.
Yanni Chirinos.
Correct.
Oh,
Very good.
Okay, because my beautiful one was Andrew Kittredge.
And are you going with Andrew Kittredge?
Kevin?
Yeah, I would go with that.
Okay, go with it.
It's correct. Andrew Kittredge is one of the 9. So now you guys have 3 names left. Come on, boys.
Whose turn is it? I don't know.
Your turn now.
It's your turn, Kevin.
Oh, boy. Let me ask this. Let me preface this. Is there any more scenarios like Yanni or Kittredge out of these remaining names?
1 more.
Well, it's definitely not Luis Patino, I can tell you that.
No, not him.
I'm really leaning towards Colin Poche.
I was thinking Poche.
Final answer?
Sure, Colin Poche.
Colin Poche would be correct.
Yeah.
Friend of the pod. Go
Yeah,
listen to that interview. He was awesome with us.
Yes.
2 left, boys. 2 left.
Oh,
Kevin,
I'm
your
trying
turn.
to think of like the bullpen guys. Where was Ryan Thompson, Kev? Oh, I don't like that look.
I'm iffy on that one. I think he's a 2020 baby.
Okay. Golly, what am I thinking of? I mean, Walls would not have been.
I was thinking maybe Manny Margot.
Yeah, that's worth a shot there.
Final answer?
Yeah.
Strike 3, gentlemen.
damn
I
it.
am so sorry, but
What position? Give me the position.
I'm sorry, I can't. I'm going to give it to you. The first one was I thought that me hinting at it. Debuted in 2019, injured currently, Mr. Brendan McKay.
Oh,
Brendan
God.
McKay. I
Oh.
know. And
He's
the
still
last
alive?
one, active roster, hides the ball pretty nifty.
Oh,
Lefty in the
big.
bullpen, Jalen Beeks.
Mm,
Jalen Beeks.
Oh, man, that was a great question.
God.
Thank you.
More
gonna
of those
clap
types
for
of
myself.
questions and not which side of the dugout is the home or away team on, please.
You really got angry at those. I love those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very happy about this this question. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie.
no,
I was
that was
hyped up.
legendary.
That
I
was a good one.
appreciate that.
That was a real good one.
All right, name that war real quickly here. The Rays are, of course, playing the Tigers, not Friday, but Saturday and Sunday, following Thursday's opening day. This guy was, I wouldn't go as far as to say Tigers great, but Tigers really solid ball player. And then had a couple-year stint with the Cleveland Indians, I should say. That was pretty impressive as well. That's as much of a hint I will give you all. His name is Travis Fryman. What is his career WAR?
Oh my God. Travis
He
Fryman.
retired in 2002.
I have no recollection of this man.
I haven't thought of Travis Fryman since 1992.
I wake up every morning and one of my first thoughts is Travis Fryman. I wonder.
I thought you were going to say Travis Hafner. I was going to get all excited.
Too. Yeah, and I was like, he wasn't in Detroit.
Travis Hafner, Tampa Bay resident. Tampa
That's right.
resident, last I checked.
He retired so long ago. I wasn't even in this country, bro. I moved here in 2003. It's been
That's not my
20
problem.
years. 2002, Travis. My goodness, Fryman. Nah. Okay, I'm just gonna take 16.
Okay.
I was going to. I'm sure I'm going to undersell it, but I was thinking 13-2.
Travis Fryman played 13 years in the bigs, 223 homers, 274 career batting average, over 1,700 hits, 5-time All-Star, a Gold Glover, and a Silver Slugger. Had over 345 doubles, really good numbers overall. Played third base. Career OPS of 779. His career WAR 34.4.
Wow.
Yeah, undersold that by a smidge.
Yeah, double my guess, and then you're there. Holy crap.
Very underrated career.
I've got no recollection of this man whatsoever.
Mr. Fryman, I am so sorry.
Yeah, sorry,
I
Travis.
thought he was just no pun intended, a flash in the pan.
Well, I think probably some of that might be because he played in the heat of the steroid era. So, him putting up, a 280 batting average.
That's the sickening part of the steroid era. People like Travis Fryman were forgotten.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Or what was the other guy from you said the other day, Kevin? And I was like, what the Rondell?
Oh, Rondell White. Yeah, that was
Rondell White. It's like what? Where are you coming up with these names? Yeah. No. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough,
good.
Mr. Fryman.
That was a good one. I was stumped on that. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, we appreciate Evan being back in the fold. Hopefully this is more of a regular thing now that the season is in the throes here. Before we end it, Evan, where and how can people find your work?
Yeah, first and foremost, just hit me up on Twitter. You can see my handle right there at the bottom, Closky, WTSP. Instagram at Closky. That's CLOSKY. Before the home opener, I did a nice sit-down interview with Jeffrey Springs. I would suggest taking a look at that on our website at 10tampabay.com. You can find the full interview on our YouTube page with Springs, about 6 minutes long. So it's not going to take up much of your time at all. We go through a few topics. I got another one in the hopper with Taylor Walls, which we'll release maybe on one of the off days coming up here, not tomorrow. Not today if you're listening on Friday. But yeah, hit me up. I'm always down to answer some questions on Twitter as long as you're respectful. And again, we always got things cooking on 10tampabay.com, including our new Bolts Breakaway show leading into the Stanley Cup playoffs, which will happen in the middle of April. We'll start around April 17th. So we got that airing on Saturdays at 7:30 and 10:30 in the morning.
Very cool.
Awesome. Great stuff. All right. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked on Fantasy Baseball Podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you next week.